in a row. Very happy. I'm just concerned about. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Mile High Minute. I am, of course, back with my good friends and also fellow commentators on the Broncos and their run right now. So let's start with a normal, like we always do. Everyone, this is Todd and Steve. Say hi.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
All right, and as we always do, we're going to do what we've been calling the good, the bad, and the ugly. So first, we're going to start with the good. And Todd, why don't you start us out with what you thought was good about Sunday's game?
Okay, well, I'm going to say the game was good. And we did not get the victory, of course. But I think, it is a game that we were competitive in the second half after getting behind in the first half. We look like a real football team. I think the fans holistically are now watching the game not with a sense of dread like we've been doing for so many years in the past, but with a honest enthusiasm, see how it actually ends. We lost on the last play of the game. We've lost a few games this season on the last play, but there's still a lot to feel excited about for this team. Even this season, we're still in the mix.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, even last year, like we'd get into the fourth quarter, the first couple of minutes in the fourth quarter, and we would just be like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. But they're keeping us around. They're keeping us engaged. And I agree. I thought that the game was really good, even though we didn't win. It showed a lot of what has changed about this team. So, Steve, you're good?
Yeah, I think that's really the key here is that, early on in the season, we kind of assumed that anytime something go bad, or honestly, anytime since 2015 practically, we would assume that things are going to go bad. And this team has shown a resilience that it didn't have earlier in the season. It did get, and now we're seeing it now. So it's like, I didn't, first, second quarter, I didn't think this was all getting out of hand. It was like, don't worry, we'll be okay. And we didn't win, but we were, within an inch of doing that. And so, I can't feel too bad about that.
Okay. I'm just going to go off of this point with the good. And I'm going to say also, like, even when we got some major penalties, which we did, we had a couple of personal fouls. We had a couple of other things. We had some dropped balls. And the team didn't fall apart, where in the past they would have fallen apart with those things. And they just kept going and kept driving. So I was really impressed. But my good, and I have to say it, is that pass from Cortland Sutton. Muscle to Cortland. I mean, every game Cortland gives us a highlight reel. It just happens. I wish he'd been able to catch on the first, because the first one that he dropped. And so, because that, I think, would have set us on a different trajectory during the game for that point. So, all right. Next, you guys want to do the bad or you want to do the ugly?
Let's do the bad. Let's do the bad.
The bad. Okay. Well, Steve, you said it, so you start.
The bad is that we lost. I think, like, if you look at, obviously every game we lose is the bad, but if you look at our overall playoff trajectory, the games that we can least afford to lose, like, this is the worst of them, right? Like, if we lose to the Lions, that's not a big deal. Some of our other AFC West competitors that we play throughout the rest of the season, it's not as big of a deal. But the Texans was the big game, and so that worries me a little bit. We can still afford to drop a game, and I think we're probably still okay, but not the game I wanted to lose for sure.
Todd?
So I think the bad is sort of the alternative of the good, which was a good game, but it was bad because there was no major mistakes. Everybody made small mistakes. We're not getting the ball to Mims enough. I don't think McLaughlin's running enough. I don't really understand our running strategy. Russell missed some passes. It's some bad penalties. It's just a death by inches. And I think that's what's so frustrating about this loss, why it doesn't break your heart, and it's not something hard to get over, but you can just look at 20 different things that if they had gone a different way, we would have won. And that's just, that's just bad execution all the way around. Just slightly bad, but bad enough to lose.
Yeah, I agree. And that our last throw when it got intercepted and that was the end of the game for us. Like if you look at the tape, listen to a bunch of podcasts, I've listened to other things, and if you look at what was going on, like people were not where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, that was a train wreck.
A total train wreck. Like Kroll wasn't probably even supposed to be getting the ball, but he was the only one that Russell had the possibility to throw to, or he was going to get sacked. And so where do you throw? You throw where you think you can. And because I mean, you even look at some of the tape, you can see like the wide receivers, like something got called, and the wide receivers were like what? I'm not where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think, Tina, that's a great microcosm of my point, which is there's no one person responsible for that play. It got in poorly. They set up poorly. The players weren't in their right routes. Russell made the wrong choice. He didn't throw it far enough. And the backup tight end, who I'd never heard of, I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
I'd heard of him, but that's it.
I heard of the movie from the 80s, but
But that he didn't position himself right to get the ball, which to some degree, if you played that pass a little bit differently, it was a catchable ball. But that's the thing; it's like there's not any one thing you can be mad at, so you just have to be mad at everything.
Right. I agree. And before we log off, we're going to also go back to something that's hitting our fan base again, which is dealing with Russell and what's going on. I think we need to have an actual conversation about that. And I think that'll definitely help with some people that are following this. So now we're going to get into the ugly. And the ugly for me, and I didn't say this on Sunday, but more and more I think about it, the personal fouls, it's got to stop. The NFL has our defense's name on a list. They are looking for us to do stuff. So you got to stop with, I understand you can't always pull up. They think they're doing what is right. It's a game, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like waving a wet red flag in front of a bull. And if it even looks like a personal foul, we're going to get the whistle. That's just the fact of the matter. So that's my ugly. I don't want the guys to stop playing the way that they do, but we're just going to have to take into effect that we might get some personal fouls we wouldn't have gotten in the past. So that's my ugly.
My ugly is the stretch of games. Nothing worse than going after finishing a 5-game winning streak with a 3-game road trip, one with a clear playoff contender. Houston feels like us to some degree in the season. The same thing. Huge trap game against Los Angeles Chargers this Sunday, and then we play against one of the best teams in the NFC. I mean, goodness, it'd be great if we went 2-1. We're still got a small chance if we go 1-2, but it would be nice to have a home game in the middle of this to further extend possibilities of being in the postseason this year.
Yeah, especially after we just got out of like what was the roughest part of our schedule, and we went 5-1. So no one expected us to win this section and then to go into another section with a lot of road trips. True. Yeah. All right, Steve.
And I think to kind of bridge to the conversation you're talking about, I think my ugly is the relationship between Judy and Wilson on the field. I mean, I don't know what goes on and whatever, but I feel like I get this sense that Wilson doesn't trust Judy, perhaps. Like I see plays where, we have people who have always talked about, oh, well, Wilson doesn't see the field and blah, blah. Like, I think it's really a matter of he just doesn't seem to feel comfortable throwing to Judy in clutch situations. So we saw towards the end of the game, it's a 4th-and-1. He has Judy open. If you look at the video, he's looking the whole time at Judy and decides to run it instead. And to get the down, to say, okay, we're going to get a few more downs rather than taking the shot. And I think it was the wrong decision, but I think it comes down to how does he feel about Judy. So given that, the conversation I think that you wanted to have to Wilson.
Well, I kind of agree with it, but I disagree with it, at least in a couple situations. One is the 4th-and-2 situation. Like, That thing happened in like 10 seconds. Yes, Judy was. So Judy is usually, like, you're right. Judy or Cortland are usually Russell's first guy in the progressions, in the checkdowns. And no matter how much people hate checkdowns, it's what happens. That's how they do it. So he was first, but he wasn't open. So he couldn't take it. So he's going down through his progressions. And that's when the offensive line started to collapse on him. He saw an opening to get the 2. Boom, you got to go. That's just in your head. I don't care how open Judy was in that situation. Russell's eye wasn't that way at that point. He sees everything collapse. He's got to go. He wants to get the 2 and get the first down, which they did. So, okay. The others, yes, but I honestly believe, and this is what's irritating me so much on this issue, is I think the media is playing it out to be a bigger issue than it really is. I think what's happening is he's going through his progressions. And by the time Judy gets open or something's going on there, Russ has got to go some other way. But how do you sell people on drama to get them to watch the score, to get them to read a paper, to do all this stuff? You got to have a talking point. Now, I do agree with you on that there might be something going on between him and Judy. Whether it's they don't trust each other or something, I don't know.
It's not like it. Yeah, I'm not saying there's like some sort of controversy going on or whatever. It's really just like a matter of like, I mean, it's just repetitions and knowing how he's going to play in that versus how he knows something's going to play. Like, it may be very subtle, but I feel like in that moment when he's in the play, just whatever's going on, because it's unconscious at that point. It's, I can make this and get 2 yards, or I can throw this pass, and it just happens. And so whatever that is, I feel like it's just not, the chemistry isn't quite right.
Todd, your thoughts?
So I would say we're concentrating a little too much on a microscope on Russell Wilson and Judy. What I would say is Russell Wilson is the top 15 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that's a difficult argument to make. And he's the first player. He's one of 2 quarterbacks in the NFL since February of 2016 when Peyton retired, who's starting this weekend. So, I am happy with Russell Wilson. I do not miss Brett Ripien. I do not miss Case Keenum. I do not miss Teddy Bridgewater. I do not miss Drew Lock. I do not miss the 10 other. I was going to say
we're
Flacco.
Waiting.
Starting.
We're waiting. Who'd you miss?
I'm having a good time watching.
Forever.
No. I'm not saying Trevor. I'm having a good time watching Russell Wilson in this team. I think that when he came in this season, it felt like his contract was a overwhelming burden, and now it feels like he could give us this year and another good year, and maybe we have a quarterback starting 25, or maybe he plays 3 more years. But I love watching him. I love watching this team. It's as fun as it's been in 7 years, and I hope he takes us to the playoffs, and we can argue about it in January and February.
Yeah, if you want to build chemistry, it takes time. I think there's a lot to be said for that relationship in the long run.
But do you also think that our coach's comments after the game is fueling some of this media scrutiny into Russell again? Did you guys hear about this? He essentially came out and said it's not Judy's fault. He didn't say it was Russell's fault, but he said it's not Judy's fault. So what do you infer from that? You infer that it was Russell's fault. And so I agree with you, Todd. Initially, it looked like a burdensome contract. He's a game manager. He's 38, 39?
He's 36.
36. Okay. I'm even trying to make him older. He is an older quarterback who has a certain style, and he isn't as fast as he used to be. He doesn't run as fast as he used to. So it is a bit of a game manager, but I think too many people in the fandom want a quick fix. They want the Peyton Manning situation that we had. And Russell's not that kind of a player. So I just don't know what to do because we can't get rid of him. Our contract.
I mean, as much as I led us into this conversation, like the reality is he's the 3rd best quarterback in Broncos history, give or take. Like, things have gone. I mean, this season has been enjoyable to watch, which has been weird. You know, and I think about like where the Patriots are right now with all of, you know, what's going on them. Like, you know, I can't complain. Like, you know, and we'll find out in the offseason what happens, and we'll find out where they really stand on what is Wilson, what is his future with this team, and you know, we'll go from there.
And I would just say real
Yeah.
quickly behind that, Steve, not only has this team been fun to watch, it's been fun to see Russell make big plays. And that's something we haven't had with any regularity in a long time. And, you know, the idea that we know he can throw a 45-yard dart to the corner of the end zone and someone will catch it, that's something that just really hasn't felt was like a real option for us for a number of years. So I'm on the Russell train until the contract ends.
Oh, I am too. I'm tired of it. I'm really, really tired of people creating clicks and likes just because Russ is missing Judy again this week. Like, what else? You've got to create controversy to keep the fans engaged in some of this stuff. So, but the reason why I wanted to bring this up is like I know people have asked me through the group that what we're going on, like how do we like Russell Wilson? Because they're seeing what's in the media and the stories that are coming out. And I just wanted to be like, look, not everybody feels this way about Russell. I'm of it. If we didn't have a contract and if we didn't have a huge cap issue next year, or is it 24 or 25 when his cap goes to the point that we could probably trade him if we needed to?
I think the way the contract structured is like we can kind of make a decision point this offseason. If we kind of go with this, then a lot more of it's guaranteed for the next 3 years. I think it is. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, George Payton and all of them have been thinking about what makes sense as far as that goes, and really, you know, if we're going to build this team up from where it is, it's going to have to be through the draft, and it's not going to be through free agency and big contracts for that. And if we're winning, free agency is cheaper. So, you know, I feel like this season really does set
And
us up
better
for success.
players want to play with you through free agency. That's the thing I think a lot of people forget about. And I know you and Steve and I have had this conversation, and Sir Todd has too, that like part of our problem is because we were not that good. Free agents didn't want to come and play for us. And then if we don't have draft capital, we're not fixing. We can only take what we can get. And I'm hoping that this season changes a lot of that in some people's minds. Like they are going to want to come here, not just for money, because we know some of that's involved in it, but they'll want to come and play here. They're going to want to maybe even, they might want to come and play for Vance Joseph, considering what he's done with our defense this year. So, all right. Yeah, that's looking forward to it. We got to go 4-1 through the rest of the season, and we should
Totally
have a
doable.
very good
See you in the playoffs.
Well, watch. We'll end up having to play Houston again.
Right. And then Miami.
We'll win this time.
I kind of want Miami. I'm not gonna lie. I want Miami
yeah.
to get that taste out of my mouth. So, all right, guys. Thanks again for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you via Zoom, internet, and also, as always, usually on Sundays at Almost Home in person. So thanks again for coming, sharing your thoughts. And this was the Mile High a Minute for week 4 of our playoff run. So talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.